Meeting order. Couple of finance. Meeting order for five. And a motion to approve the agenda. Sure. In a second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. First, I'd like to extend a welcome and talk from former legislator John Peck to welcome us. Sir, thank you. Get to be a ritual here every year, so I want to welcome you guys to coming. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for coming. It's becoming a ritual to have you here every year. We really happy to enjoy to do this for you. I know there's some Verizon problems today, and we got our IT guy over here, and I guess we got to work out so you can have your meeting tonight, so that's good. Just want to welcome you to the St. Lawrence County Fair. We're here again. Give you a quick rundown of what we're doing this week. A little few changes from normal. Usually Tuesday night has been our concert night, our big concert night. We usually kick the fair off on Tuesday night with our concert. This year we decided to change it up and do it on Saturday night. Tomorrow is opening day at 4. It's going to be a completely free day, no parking, no charges for anything. Just come in. We have a talent show tomorrow night. The food vendors will be open. Some of the games will be open. Rides will not be open until 2 o'clock on Wednesday. And then we run from 2 o'clock to 11 every day through Sunday. We open until midnight on Friday night. Wednesday night is always our big band day, Carlton Pack band day, and then Fireman's Parade here Friday night. Wednesday night rather. Thursday night is going to be a local band here. I'll be performing free of charge. The new Common Revolution will be here, and they will be performing on the stage free of charge. Anybody wants to come and listen to them. And then on Friday night at 6, we're doing truck pull, and then after that, we're doing the tractor pull in front of the grandstand. And then Saturday night will be our big concert. As we've done the last 2 years, the performers will be performing here. People are going to be sitting here. We've got roughly 450 reserved seats sold at $70 per ticket. That will be in this area here. And then the rest of it will be $50 will be general admission ticket. We're up to about 700-800 of those that are also sold. This year I went out and tried to get some sponsors for the concert. This is the most expensive concert the government of St. Lawrence County has ever done. It's going to be in the $85,000 to $90,000 range for an hour and a half show. Normally we spend $55,000. This year we went up to that $85,000 to $90,000 range to get somebody with a good name that people want to come to see. I received almost $30,000 in sponsorship. We're going to have a sponsorship pin over on this side. You have to spend at least $2,500 or more to get in there. I've got about 85 or 90 people in there to do that. So right now, as we stand, we're about broke even with a concert right as we stand right now. And that's the first time that's been done in a long time. Without the sponsors, that probably wouldn't be that way. So we're trying to work our way up to maybe next year spend $100,000 to $110,000 to spend how this one goes. And we'll see. And then we end the demolition derby, of course, at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Something different, cattle, dairy cattle. We used to have over 200 head years ago. With the decrease of farms, of family farms, and everybody is busy, that number's been in the 160, 170s for the last 2 years. This year we're at 231. Which is a record number for many, many years. The barns are going to be completely packed right full of dairy cattle. And there's only one reason for that, and that is because we have a great cattle show here and everybody wants to come and show their cattle and things here. So that's why our numbers are up there. Our sheep numbers are up, our poultry numbers are way up. This year we're having an open class horse show, which we haven't had in probably the last 7 or 8 years. And I believe we have 42 entries in the open class horse show on Sunday. And then we're also going to be having a horse pull and stuff on Saturday as well. So our numbers aren't going down, they're going up. I was asked by a reporter, I think today, how it's been since COVID. I would say we're probably back to close to normal right now. We're probably ever going to be again before COVID. Again, as far as numbers go, concessionaires, I've got the most concessionaires we've ever had. We're running out of space out there. So I think we're doing something right. I really don't know what it is, but I think we're doing something right. So that's kind of a quick rundown on what we're doing this week. Again, thank you for being here. Hope you come back and see us. last year I gave you a tour of what the money that you gave us went towards. We didn't spend any more money on that this year, so I didn't give you a tour because nothing's changed from last year from what we did there. So we're still waiting on, we've received money from the governor from the state. The fairs received $96,000 a year for 5 years. That's a 5-year thing. We've been through phase 1 and 2, been paid for that. We rebuilt a brand new barn over there. We rehab one over here with grant 1 and 2, grant 3 and 4. We spent the money and not received the money checks. And the state owes us almost $200,000. It's been months. And it just seems to, I'm also the state director representing Governor Fair, Franklin County, Essex, and Clinton. We had a meeting with Commissioner Ball back about 3 months ago, and the complaint is they're not turning this money around fast enough. He told us then we'd have our money within probably 45 days. It's been almost 120 days, and we haven't got any money yet. So we're just like anybody else. We're sitting there waiting for state money. We spend it, they have to reimburse us. So we're sitting out there right now, starting this fair with the state owing us almost $200,000. So, but we will survive. I'm sure they're going to send it to us one of these days. So, okay, I think that's about it. Anybody got any questions? Quick, like I'll answer them. If not, I'll go about my setting up my concession area. Okay, good.
Thank you for having.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Have a motion. Yes. Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First up, we have highway, and resolution is for modifying the 2023 budget for the Department of Highways for paving projects and authorizing the additional 10 miles of paving.
Thank you. Thank you. A few weeks ago, the county administrator and I had a meeting to discuss possibility of adding some additional road mileage to the county work this year. And I reviewed the entire roadway system for the county and came up with an additional 10 miles of roadway that I would propose to have recycled and surface treated this year, and then with the final pavement being accomplished in the 2024 year with potentially CHIPS funding to finish up the project. So any other work that would be required to be done by county forces.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Yes, the week of September 11th. That's another topic that the administrator. So, we'd love to have the board join us for the tour. Proposed projects, past projects, and current projects under construction stuff. At this point, tentatively set up for the week of September 11th, but looking for feedback from the board. When might be best. We have a tentative route that is submitted to the administrator, and hopefully we can have some folks join us to look at some excellent work that's been done. Thank you.
So we have solid waste. Resolution for approving the 2023 St. Lawrence County Solid Waste Department revised rates. Get a motion. Second. Draw.
Thank you. In the this past year, there's been an unprecedented change in the cost of providing recycling services. Roughly $100 a ton increase from 2022 to 2023, which is going to amount to approximately $600,000 increase in cost. So that one item alone within the solid waste department. just as a little background information on our MSW or our garbage rates in 2000, starting in 2019, we found the prices in 2019, 20, 21 with no increase in the MSW charges. However, in 2022, we did increase MSW charges by $3 a ton, which was a direct result of the development of North Country raising their tip fees at the disposal site in Rodman by $3. So that was a direct cost that we passed on. And then in, of course, in 2023, you can see we did increase the fees at that point to cover some operation increase. And also another $3 increase from the development authority of North Country. But with the increase of all the other items, it's holding the line for basically 4 years with no increase on internal costs. It's just become to the point. Basically, it's a plus or minus 7% increase in most fees with a 12% increase on recycling.
Don, what do we do with contaminated soil?
Contaminated soil can be shipped to the, if it passes, a testing spectrum, it can be used for beneficial use at the Rodman landfill for covering up of the roots.
So there's different categories of contamination.
Correct. There'd be, in some things, it would not be able to be disposed of at the Rodman landfill. Shipped to a special landfill that would be extreme hazardous or other materials. But there was a road project this year where we ran into some contaminated soil. Had to have it tested. It was a small amount of controlled contamination, and that's going to be shipped to cover. It's mildly contaminated petroleum.
We don't charge for any of that.
We do have charges for contaminated trash.
This is one because it says no charge on the page here.
And that's for the direct, I'm sorry, that's for the DH of the direct haul. That's if a hauler brings that, doesn't bring it to our.
Don, we recently got an email request to comment on the increase in weight allowance on the highways. I don't know if that came from somebody at the federal level or the state level, but there was talk of allowing the trucking industry to increase the maximum gross weight to 90,000 or 90,000 plus. What would that do if any of those vehicles to the roads and bridges in St. Lawrence County that these vehicles, I'm sure, will end up traveling?
Oh, well, actually, there are industries routinely running with overload prevents. 117,000 pound tractor trailer is not out of the norm. We have super low costs. Regular. That's something that we analyze. Issue trucking. The state would issue permits in the first instance for routes. So we would look at whether the bridge or whatever they have to carry to get the final industry or whatever. And say.
So it's something you've already been exposed to, and there's a mechanism to deal with it. Okay, thank you. Aye.
Thank you.
Testing. I promised my compatriots on the side that I would try to make my comments as brief as possible. As you'll see, the resolution you have before you is establishing the apportionment rates for plan participants for the 2024 year. As you all know, in 1956, we established a self-insurance plan for workers' compensation. Almost all of the villages and towns participate in that plan. Annually, under the local law, we are required pursuant to the apportionment algorithm to set out the rate that we would charge those plan participants for participation within the plan. What you have before you is comparison side by side with 2024 and 2023. As you'll know, 2024 is increasing. There's approximately a 10% increase in the three primary reasons for that. The first reason was that we saw an increase in the overall payrolls associated with our plan participants. That actually drove up the exposure that we had within the plan. The second was that there was a change in the rating code associated with certain titles. That goes into our algorithm. If you recall, our algorithm is really largely based on our payroll, our insurance rating codes, which correspond with the necessary experience risk that we would see, and then the number of claims that we've had during the course of the look back period. So we did see an increase at the state level that sets the insurance rating codes. So you see a corresponding increase, but essentially all of our claim participants will note that there are some that did actually see a decrease this first year, where predominantly the membership will see an even the village of Governor will see an increase, albeit a small amount. The rate actually remains significantly lower though than it was when I first took over in 2014. The rate for 15 had been set based on 4.4 million. And as you'll note, we're only seeing an increase from 3.2 million to 3.5 million, which is still, as I indicated, dramatically lower for the annual rate than our peak back in 2015.
Oh, good, it doesn't turn on.
I think it's just a
Oh, too bad. Thanks. Mr. Button, not to prolong that, but I'm looking at Potsdam, it's got almost a 20% increase, and I know that has to do something with the algorithm. Can you address that a little bit? And
I can. Actually, wherever we saw a sizable percentage increase, we did Beaver Drill Town, and we did that for all of the communities. Anything that's seen abnormal, out of line with the rest of them, because as you can tell from a percent perspective, it looked to run essentially in line with the past year's inflationary line, somewhere between 11 and 13%. But there was some outliers that were significantly higher, 20%, 22%, 23%, even as high as 40%. So for our specialists that we actually hired for the algorithm, we asked them to drill down into the data. And if we saw something that stood out, we asked them to give us an explanation for that. So for several of them, there was miscoding. If they had identified their highway superintendent of roads as a highway supervisor, they would come up under the town supervisor position rather than a highway superintendent. That would result in a significant change on the insurance rating code, because the insurance rating code would give it a clerical title rather than give it one that might be exposed to this or manual labor, which changes the exposure. Separately, as I indicated, there was a significant amount of increase in payrolls in a number of our different communities. Where we saw an increase that exceeded the standard inflationary increase, it traditionally was associated with an increase in their own individual payrolls would naturally correspond with the increase. And that just so happened to be the case. for us.
Thank you.
All those opposed? Okay. 21. You guys propose or? No, I was all those in favor. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Next, we have the vacancy review committee.
Good evening. Vacancy review has 4 departments tonight. So that you will. The first up is highway. And just as a reminder, with the 4 departments tonight, next month, I'll be speaking to the annual vacancy update. I'll speak more about that during the county administrator's report. Don?
Thank you. The first position is for highway maintenance supervisor. This vacancy is due to a retirement of I believe, 36-year employee department. So unfortunately, was a great loss of experience for the department and will be greatly missed. But this is one of 4 supervisory positions that are in the field. This position is traditionally would be Elizabeth Outpost in Stockton. So that individual would oversee those tasks in those reports. As I said, a very important position to the department. We've faculty in the area with themselves. So important to us for many reasons.
Any questions on this position? Thank you, Don. Next up, we'll always, so Don will present this one as well, for the senior site crew leader.
Yes, thank you. Again, this position is due to the retirement of, again, a 30+ year employee. The solid waste department has 1 senior site crew leader that oversees the 4 solid waste facilities. So again, it was important that we fill this to maintain our operations at solid waste. We are particularly struggling at solid waste division with maintaining staffing level due to the majority of the positions requiring Class A, C, D. Recruiting people to those positions is very difficult, and definitely need somebody helping us and guide the new employees.
Questions for Don on solid waste position? Okay, thank you. Next up, we have our Director Bruce Green from Real Property to present on 1 position.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the property office is asking for a real property tax aid position to be filled in our office. We have 3 aides in our office, and currently 1 here this month. In the past, we have had really at this point now 2 aides that have lost that we've lost just 1 town alone within the last year. So for this position, our office for community that we see revenue on.
Any questions on this vacancy? Okay, thank you, Bruce. Next up, it's a little bit more unusual for me to be presenting on positions. The first of which I'll go ahead and speak to, and I'll ask Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds, Jim Chaplin, to come up and speak to the second thing. The first position this evening is a request to fill the Assistant County Administrator position. This position had been filled for just over 5 years and is key and critical function to assist in county administrator's office. We are a small office of 4, who handle essentially 24 departments, and their agenda items, resolutions, local laws, everything that passes through my office. The assistant county administrator would be assistant. The budget process is key to have an additional person involved to go over budget items, to help organize the budget team. This also was an aspect of the purchasing office and mailroom, where day-to-day oversight is provided, as well as the opportunity to work with the lease owners where we rent property in the county. So those are just a few of the general areas that this position took care of. This is requested as an immediate fill. If this position is not filled, that will provide the opportunity for me to handle the aspects of this position until it is filled. And it's redistributing duties that sometimes departments need additional assistance with a number of areas, special projects that are going on. This is an extra opportunity to have another set of eyes on things, to be able to make recommendations to the board and to the department. So I request this is done. Questions? Thank you. The two positions for consideration tonight.
So do the second half two positions. First one's. Workers responsible for certain areas.
Questions?
Thank you. And the second one, as you know, as I've gotten more involved with the sort of staff, we noticed there's a need for a little more focused supervisory, supervision and we post a new position and we want that position to be more overseeing of the department in that, to 11. Allow that person to do that. We really need somebody to be more hands-on with the staff. So we are going to, in effect, replace one of the custodial workers with a custodial supervisor.
Are there any questions on that for Jim? We just also mentioned, you may recall in the 2023 budget, we had created a custodial supervisor with your permission generally to work the midnight or the overnight shift. We filled that position and that was unsuccessful in our endeavors as we envisioned. So we looked at it again and it actually has a crew leader position on evenings. So that's a true 11 position and this position would be on 4 to 12. So I'm not sure if you recall, but our maintenance work, grounds work takes place during the day. We don't really provide a lot of custodial support during the day. That all happens in the evening and late into the night. And this is an opportunity, I think, one, to have a backstop for when either individual takes time off. We didn't have that. Our superintendent and supervisor do alternate so that they can cross over shifts and see all the staff and make sure that tasks are being completed. So we continue looking at this model to determine if, like we did during COVID, we brought on some custodial staff during the day, and that helps with some of the aspects of things they could complete while the office day is happening. And so that's a different model. That's something we continue looking at to determine if it makes more sense for the county. We end up short-staffed sometimes with some of the work that needs to be completed, and there are always more projects than we have money or time. So being able to have this supervisor will be helpful for this person. Anything else? Thank you.
This is a working supervisor?
Yes.
It is. Okay. And have there been problems noted on the evening staff? Were there issues noted that led to the request?
There's a little bit of a, with the 2 acre. They need. They're calling us. So have that. And, and then more consistent with quality. Wow, something. We'll know what everybody's had to start with.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jim. Moving on to the agenda, next up is the American Rescue Plan update. I wanted to let you know the committee met, since we last had a finance committee meeting update. They received a broadband update, and the broadband committee has met as well. And we also discussed the Emerald Ash Borer funding associated with ash tree removal and hazard tree removal. Many of you are aware our district manager, Ray Andolansky, is no longer with us. We have a new individual who's taken over that, Casey. I met with her this last week, but what we were able to ascertain is the money that has been set aside for the Emerald Ash Borer. We are in a hiatus currently due to a bat preservation effort by the DEC, and we'll begin the efforts utilizing those funds later in the year, I believe around October. We were also able to revisit the discussion on the requested airboat. As many of you know, there has been $100,000 set aside of the ARPA funds to provide for the airboat. The balance of what has come in recommended by the committee that took a look at this is a $250 appropriation. And so we had a conversation with the group a few months back when we first gathered this year. At that time, we had made a federal funding request of Congresswoman Stefanik that was not funded for the balance. And so we remain with a separation between the funding level the counties provided and the cost of the equipment. So what the committee determined was we would go back to both Fire Advisory Board and the EMS Advisory Board and make a request of them with regard to the priorities. And if in fact this is at the top of that list for best use of county funds associated with this. So they did not determine they won't provide the balance in funding. They just want to make sure that this meets that level of priority for both groups. So I have had a conversation with our director of EMS, Matt Benner, who's going to go back to both boards with the respective next meetings and have those discussions. I'll bring that information back to the ARPA committee and they can make a final determination. So I think some progress just to update you on that. Also, in this agenda, you saw the IDA update, which is provided to you with the total allocation to the IDA of 2.9 million. The balance was that 100,000 that was moved to the airboat essentially. I think they laid out a very nice summary of the breadth and the depth of how far this funding has gone, which meets exactly the intent of the Board of Legislators. And so to date, they have appropriated $1.8 million in that allocation, which goes from small businesses to infrastructure. The infrastructure fund, I'm told, is completely extended. There was such a need that that was actually the first that was completed. Workforce and training, that has 190,000 appropriated to it already. Healthcare skills, two categories of tourism, travel, hospitality. One is for building grant, and the other is for promotion. So that leaves a balance of 1 million for allocation. So we certainly always lead those discussions with an interest to get the word out further, farther into the county to make sure folks know the funding available. Separately, the IDA has been administering both the CDL program and the child care initiative, and they have moved forward with both of those. There is in those programs 187,000 appropriated, the 178,000 that's been distributed. So combined, out of the 3.387 million, 1.3 million is left. So certainly something that we are extremely grateful for the IDA's good work, processes they have already defined and are carrying out and making sure those funds get out to the community. So if you have any questions as you go through those, it's quite a list of organizations, or you like more detail about the work they've done. I'm certain that Patrick Kelly would be happy to share that with us so that you can have more information. Any questions on that?
Not a question, just a comment. I'll speak loud, but I'd like to thank this entire board, as well as the IDA. When we first learned that we were going to be receiving $21 million.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the entire board, the IDA. When we first learned that we were going to be receiving $21 million, there was a lot of discussion as to how we should be the best way to spend it. And the board agreed that the best way to spend it would be to spend it across the county where it's going to benefit the greatest number of people. This list shows that. There have been folks from the southern end of the county to the northern end, tourism, small business, infrastructure. I know two of the towns that I represent, they were each awarded a $250,000 grant for this to help with sewer stuff. Another town received $50,000. It's been great. So again, thank you for the entire work this means. Thank you. Just to let you know, with the CDL training, as everyone knows, we have a real shortage in the county of drivers with CDL licenses. And thanks to the program that all of this board helped support with the ARPA money, the program at SUNY Canton, which is providing local training for people to get their CDL training, recently received another $250,000 separate from the money that we're providing, which will provide that education so that more people in the county can get the training they need to get good paying truck driving jobs and help fill that need, because we heard from a lot of businesses in the county that with the shortage of qualified drivers, a lot of them were facing serious economic problems. So it's always good when we find out that our efforts have leveraged additional funds so that more people can get the training they need without trying to drive to Syracuse and staying in Syracuse for several months and having that hardship. They're able to get the training they need right here in St. Lawrence County. So I just thought the board would be pleased to hear that, or people will be able to get that training that they need in order to get good paying jobs that can support their families with.
I know she.
The county administrator's report now. If the chair will oblige, we could go ahead with the resolution.
Resolution is authorizing the solicitation of bids for renovation of public safety complex and cleaning under the Atlantic Works project.
So moved.
Second.
So this resolution comes to you, it's a little bit unusual for you to authorize the solicitation of bids in the general way. However, this is one of the largest projects we've undertaken since the jail project in 2007 and 8. It's important, I think, for the board. You've heard many discussions about it. The Buildings and Grounds Committee is up to the efforts. Been at design for over a year now, and moving to a place where we can put bids out on the street to get a competitive environment and move this project forward. We're very excited And one of the delays, so that the public is aware, has been around bringing in an expert in the area of the public safety answering point, and really trying our best to respect the technology that's available, the environment we're placing our dispatchers in, and anticipating the needs of the future. We've done a couple things in this aspect where we will be adding to our current situation and availing the opportunity in the future for 2 more. So we also will be providing space for a proper emergency operations center. For years, we've used the legislators chambers, which has its own challenges. That will be our backup location, but this will be central to the public safety complex, and I believe give us greater advantage in situations where we require them. So this resolution comes to you to request authorization for us to solicit bids for this project and to officially appoint our Clerk of the Works owner's rep. I want to thank the Buildings and Grounds Committee. They spent many hours and many levels of frustration in trying to move this forward. So they're good stewards of this project. Next up is a resolution that will authorize a reserve.
Next resolution authorizing the creation of the capital reserve in the 2022 budget for the purpose of capital project management of equipment. Motion.
So this resolution comes in under the wire for the closure of our results from 2022. This was included in my recommendations associated with the outcome of 2022 and allocating the additional $11 million that was remaining at the end of 2022. This is the 6th reserve being requested. We have a capital reserve for facilities. We have an employee benefit, accrued liability reserve. We have a self-insured health insurance and liability reserve. Last year, we created the sheriff's vehicle reserve, as well as a blighted foreclosure property reserve. To extend the success of the commercial property, we moved into the more residential with that reserve. And this resolution of this reserve and resolution comes before you to anticipate in a pre-funding method that we've never been able to do before. This is anticipating highway purchase in what is going to be 26, but the length of time that it takes to receive any type of equipment and vehicles these days, we're looking to do it in 25 with folks of getting the equipment in 26. And this starts to fund that expectation with $1 million to begin. Questions? I do have the list of equipment, at least as it stands today. We may continue to see updates that will be available on the board share. Moving right along to the 2023 second quarter update. You have 2 sets that were included in your agenda. The first is the summary report. Both of these documents you're very used to seeing. We've been doing the quarterly reports now since 2016. We follow the model, always up for suggestions, but we follow the model that the treasurer uses in the annual soft close that's provided to you, usually in May, but this year in June. So you have the summary report, which gives you the difference from the original adopted budget. Now, we know that's a little bit of a challenge because we modify the budget every month. And so what you're looking at is more correct than the second set of data. I'll remind you of that in a moment. But in the summary document, you see that there are 8 departments who are ahead of that halfway mark of 50%. We've got 8, an additional 8 that are between the 50 and 60th percentile. So they're hovering right in the neighborhood where they have made payments that we haven't seen revenue against yet. And then we have 2 departments below the 40th percentile. And then you always have those departments that we talk more about with board of elections, real property, the treasurer, and the county clerk, where the revenue comes in ahead of operations, often making it look like the department doesn't cost anything. So the second report, you certainly understand that it does. And that's a breakdown by category. And you're familiar with our personnel, equipment, contracts, employee benefits, and revenue categories. That's where in areas where you may have deep interest either with the departments you're more familiar with or that you want more information about, is you can look at the adopted county cost again, but in this report, you can also look at the modified budget. So that takes up through June 30th. The modifications is what is authorized, and it measures the performance against that. And then you're seeing a percent of modified budget. So many would argue this is the more accurate report to look at. I always feel strongly that going back to what we adopted is important as well. And in this area, we have a few different trending in the overall general fund. We are approximately 26% ahead for the year in revenue, which is always good news. I think many of you, if not all of you, have seen the treasurer's update to sales tax. And that's performing well revenue for us. But the balance of that is we're only at the 48th percentile in the general fund for appropriations. So those are always metrics to keep in mind. And that's on page 7 of 9. Page 7 and 4. Talking about. Are there any questions at this point? Also, in the first summary report, it gives you a picture because for many years we were only providing the general fund as an update. This gives you all of the funds 3 through 8, giving you an idea of the capital funds and our specialized funds, whether it's liability and casualty, or it's comp, or solid waste. And it lets you know where those are performing. And there's only one that's over 50%, and that's road machinery, and that's at 53%. So I think those are performing well as far as their spending goes. It's a little bit difficult in each of the other funds to assign where their revenue and what time of year their revenue comes in. But we can have more detailed conversations about that at budget time. Did want to point out in the category report that there are some departments, many of whom have lagging revenue. So we closed the month in June, and that is from the claims angle and against June. It's probably how that reported. But there's several departments that the revenue is tracking behind community services among them, the county clerk, office for the aging, planning, probation, looking at industry defense, usually at all times lagging behind with revenue, sheriff's office and the youth bureau. So we look at in the third quarter to see some of those caught up, at least that first quarter for the year caught up. Are there any questions on the detailed data in the second set? So I would refer you as a reminder just to that page 7. That gives you at the top of that page our appropriation at mid-year for personnel is at 46%. Our contractual obligations are 38%. The employee benefits spend is at 41%. And as I mentioned before, our revenue is at 52%. So it gives, I think, at least tracking against modified budget, a responsible picture of what that means determines. Any other questions? Okay. I'll just go on a couple other items to report out. Before we move on, the first is, as I'm required to report transfer of funds, we can do one of those for some net. That was for the provision department, with the amount of $1,054.60. And this was a movement for the shredding documents and record management. That was authorized on July 18th. Did want to mention to you, our budget was used for 2023 projections in 2024, start tomorrow. We don't have the schedule, so let me email that out to all of you. You are welcome anytime to join us. In most cases, we have about 7 days of reviews. We have about half of those are half days, and half of those are 4 days. So you're certainly welcome to sit in with us anytime. I wanted to mention that we received some news from our fleet manager that all of our orders for escapes, and we're familiar with the SUV type vehicles that we're driving now, as a fleet are being canceled at this point. And that was 14 vehicles. And so we're working with our fleet manager to come up with some solutions. We do have another solution. It's a slightly bit more expensive. So we're carefully looking at that. Since those orders need to be made quickly, those vehicles go. Don't think there's going to recover like we anticipated. But we also are looking at 24 and trying to make some assessments about both the receipt of vehicles that we ordered. And when we order them, we just received a few other vehicles. I'm going to receive their pickups this year. There are some So that's, that's probably to give you, but just wanted to make you aware of that. I believe in not being filled by for anyone, but I can come on. Any questions? One just remind you of the second vacancy. Update that I do every year. Information. Usually between 155 and 165. So not far off. But my point is there are any information pieces that you have added to the vacancy report, and then we talked a lot about. Information we added last time before. It's very generous, improving positions like budget. Happy to pull that second for you, HR is tremendous stuff there. If there is, let me know in the next, few days to a week. And and the last item I mentioned in the work plan is tomorrow morning there'll be a brief program with regard to the visit from our federal representatives on the dairy margin coverage program. There's a real push to review that program before it expires. If you'd like more information, see me after the meeting and I'll give you the details. What I'd like to see happen is that program renewed before it expires. And this program that provides payments to farmers that are geared at the 200 head dairy farms and below, so the smaller farms. And they're looking to have that renewed and not change any of the legislation. So, if you'd like more information, see me after the meeting. That's all I have. Questions.
Setting a date for the public hearing on proposed local law for the year 2023, allowing 12 and 13-year-old licensed hunters to hunt deer with a firearm or crossbow and hunting season provision of adult licensed hunter, rescinding local law B for year.
Sure. I'd like to ask everybody to support this. This is a great opportunity for our youth to get out there and great outdoors, learn about the safety of the equipment and the proper taking of animals, the preparation of them, and the conservation of the, well, I'm losing my words here, but for the conservation of our wildlife. There is a need for this, and it teaches our youth under great supervision how to do this properly. Ask for your support.
I see nobody's using these microphones, so I'm gonna seize the moment. I would support this, but I'm wondering what the rescinding of local law B means, because we passed something like this, right? What's the difference?
I believe it's one.
So this resolution provides the opportunity to extend. It rescinds the prior resolution because if we don't renew the local law, it expires. It's allowed us to continue.
Thank you.
Other question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Point of order. Aren't we just setting a date for the hearing? We're not passing it. Okay.
Yeah. First, we have the Cornell Cooperative Extension Board.
Here, Cornell Cooperative Extension Board met Thursday, July 27th. Me just reject.
Funny.
Cooperative Extension Board met Thursday, July 27th. In We talked, actually, I'll just briefly go over the agenda. It was a very informal meeting, talked about the financial reports, property assessments in good shape financially. We did pass a new policy on sexual harassment and discrimination prevention. And I want to give a quick update on the program reports. 4-H. And I know John Peck mentioned about the number of counties that are here this year. There are actually 284 4-Hers participating in the fair. That's amazing. That's we got the highest number that we have. This beginning Saturday, first year, an opportunity to share this project. So they're looking on this past year, St. Lawrence County Fair. Public and board members are invited to come and see what the youth are doing. Items of care into 4-H livestock shows, 4-H projects, and 4-H projects for the rolling with comes through last year. Booth displays more most common area for youth is to show off their exhibits and through the 4-H competitions. Animal competitions include horses, cows, goats, sheep, poultry, rabbits, dogs, and cats. Project exhibits include areas such as communication and expressive arts, food, nutrition, fine arts, crafts, textiles and clothing, photography, horticulture, etc. All 4-H exhibits are evaluated using a Danish judging system, which has to be someone, so won't be able to. But what it means essentially that each project your annual judge for the standard rates its own merit rather than against another participant. And 4-H animal nights and activities let's go backwards in June, he was forced to last meeting, July, August, and community service. So it was great. And lastly, this is really not to sort of play a part of it. You see, St. Lawrence County 2023 Agricultural Tour. And one of the folks who found the St. Lawrence County Executive Board is Robbie Default. He's finally on the part of the tour this year. So it's on Friday, August 18th, 2023. I know we even got a card. Please, I get on the phone.
Next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Fish and Wildlife Management Board has not met since June 15th. Our next meeting is going to be September 15th, and hopefully by then I'll have a follow-up report on what happened at our last meeting, where we were going to come up with a letter of recommendation in terms of how to handle the situation with Black Lake. I'll let you know that.
We also have not met. Our next meeting is August 22nd at 6 p.m.
Highway solid waste.
We met 2 weeks ago, and discussed the fees, the results of which supervisor presented tonight with the resolution that we approved, so I can include
That's your Dominic.
We covered most of it with the ARPA report. The other business that took up at the IDA meeting was we approved a pilot agreement on a solar array in the town of Russell on Route 41. We also approved a lease for 20,000 square feet for Corning Incorporated, which is going to lease space in the old Google building in Ogdensburg. This is particularly good news. Many of you will recall the IDA acquired the new building. It was off the tax roll. It was in very bad shape. The roof is collapsing. It's a major industrial building in the heart of Ogdensburg. The IDA was able to save the building. They now will be able to make pilot payments to the county, the city, and the school district. They currently have Connexus in there, and Connexus intends to expand its operation there as soon as we finish fixing up another portion of the building. And we're pleased that we're able to help Corning, which is one of the county's major employers, in their need for additional warehouse space. And I would just point out that just over the past 5 years, Corning has added 20,000 square feet of additional industrial space at their plant in DeKalb, with the assistance that they've received from the county IDA. So we have a great relationship with Corning, and we've been able to work with them and help them expand their operation. Back 5 years ago, Corning employed less than 300 people. They now employ over 400 people, and they're a terrific employer and do incredible high-tech work there. And they're one of the great success stories here in St. Lawrence County, because a company like Corning is constantly being asked to move their operations all over the world, but they choose to stay here in St. Lawrence County because of the workforce that we provide and the cooperation that we see from local governments and the county IDA and others. So it's always nice to report a little good news, since a lot of people are always harping on the negative. So thank you. For and trails, despite the heavy rainfall, riders are out there and finding the road, the trails. The rain does keep us.
We had our first meeting with the new soil and water manager and the new administrative assistant. They discussed quite a bit about their plans and their concerns, talking about the future budget. And the two of the big concerns is being able to retain our certified crop specialists and our certified forester. I think everybody here knows the role that Aaron, the forester, has played in the Emerald Ash Borer, marking the trees. Maybe what's not quite as apparent is assistant for the current municipality. I know he's done a fair amount of work in Potsdam, Madrid, and other townships. Our certified crop specialist is now able to bring more state money into the area. It's over an additional $100,000 into the area for the next coming year. So these items are critical, and they talked about the next township they're moving to for the Emerald Ash Borer is Waddington, and I believe they said there was over 3,000 trees. It's a large number in comparison with what we've had in the past with Morristown and Oswegatchie. And also Louisville, they believe is going to be about the same size. So I guess maybe just to summarize, being able to retain this caliber of employee is really, it was a big discussion at our last meeting about it. And you know, how we do that, and probably requesting the support of the county in that endeavor. And also to remind everybody here, if we don't need reminders, that soil and water played a big role in septic tank program, culverts with Don's department. So it's the organization is, and it brings in a lot of money to agriculture and conservation practices. So that was the big discussion. How do we preserve what we have and not let it slip away? Needless to say, both Aaron and Joanna, the forester and the crop specialist, are being recruited because of their skill level. And so that's the challenge for soil and water as we move forward. The board chairman wanted, Larry did, to remind everybody about the agricultural board and encourage people to attend. Did I miss anything, Margaret?
Oh, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, I don't have a committee report, but a point of interest, I think, to all is that the day after tomorrow, Assemblyman Scott Gray is facilitating a meeting at Black Lake with Parks and Recreation and the DEC to take a look at the boat launch. I say, take a look, the topics will be the boat launch and its adequacy or inadequacy, the flow of the river that, or excuse me, the flow of the lake that has been constricted for a number of years with the bridge replacement, and the invasive species. Parks and Rec is going to be tasked with, at the meeting, coming up with some kind of a plan that they can bring forward, fund, and put into work for improving and modifying the boat, which will be a huge benefit to the lake, particularly at the times when they have their regattas and their fishing tourneys like that. So I'd be more than happy to bring a report at our next meeting for the results of that meeting and what has been accomplished. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was remiss. Mr. Forsythe asked me to provide the RVRDA report in his absence. The RVRDA awarded several grants at their most recent meeting. $15,000 for the campground at Leishman Point in Waddington, $5,000 for the walleye restocking program in Ogdensburg, $10,000 for the St. Lawrence Power and Equipment Museum in Madrid to expand their potable water system. $15,000 to the Potsdam Humane Society for their thrift store renovations and roof and insulation. $10,000 to the city of Ogdensburg for improvements to the Dubisky Center. $10,000 to the town of Messina for a water study at the Reynolds property. There's hopes to develop a industrial park at the town of Messina on the vacant Reynolds property. $10,000 to the town of Macomb for renovations to their kitchen and electrical and lighting and flooring. $10,000 to the town of Louisville for parking and paving for their municipal building, and $15,000 for the Lisbon Depot Museum. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If I may, I made a mistake on the date. The date for that meeting is Thursday, not Wednesday. Time, 11:30 a.m. Until something is accomplished, I hope.
Any other business?
Two items. The first is for the ag board. Having lunch for that, and a tentative menu is here, just so you can have a look. And we are having dinner delivered as we have.
We have to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Aye.